from the best department in the world, the Department of Ecology and Fishery Science. And so if anyone wants to come and study there, come and chat to me. Yeah, it's a great privilege. My first and only recreational fisheries conference I've attended was in Brazil. I was heavily pregnant with our first child, which was really awesome. Actually, I think I even got an award. It was so precious. But then, yeah, after that, I kind of stopped traveling for a bit. So it's great to be here and to present in front of you. Okay, it's a really cool study. I tried to actually package in like 5 years of all our students and everything into 12 minutes, and yeah, I can just see Warren shaking his head. Anyway, I'm going to try my best. Okay, so as we all know, marine shore-based fisheries, we realize it's a very large sector. It provides considerable economic livelihood benefit globally. And what is so interesting being here and just hearing is that our situation is not African specific. The data, the governance is poor, the data is deficient, and that was a real eye-opener. Most of the overexploitation is attributed to excessive harvest, and in the South African context, our inshore fisheries resource is heavily exploited by the large shore-based marine recreational fishery, purely by participation, and as you can see, it's a huge, massive economic value. So what does it mean? Oh yeah, we don't have pointers. I'm sure you've seen this presented by Warren before. This is our socio-ecological system of our line fishery, fish caught on rod and line, and that big, large, yellow or orange, whatever color you call it, is the shore-based recreational fishery. The blue on the left is the boat-based, and then we've got a commercial fishery, and then small-scale boat-based and shore-based. And what's really important here is to consider this in a socio-ecological system, and Warren's really driven this really well, and that's if we want to look at sustainable fisheries, we do obviously have to look at the societal impact, the human dimensions, the governance, and the ecology. What we do have in South Africa is incredible life history knowledge on all our fishery species. Big shout out to Bruce Mann. I saw Mark's talk, the references were just like man. So, which is just incredible. So it's a really good start. I'm the eternal optimism. Warren is a realist. Anyway, but really the governance is poor. There's actually no monitoring of our, despite it being the largest sector of our marine shore-based recreational sector, there is no monitoring, which is huge. And we already know that the status of some stocks are not well at all. They're in really past 25% of spawner biomass, 25 down to 2%, some are collapsed. So there needs to be changes in policies, and implementation is really, really needed. And there are still massive knowledge gaps in all three spheres of the socio-ecological system. And obviously, we need good science and good governance if we are to manage this. Okay, so what are the knowledge gaps? I mean, they list, right? So just basic knowledge gaps. What are the abundant species? We knew that in the past, but now, what are they 20 years down the line? What are our current trends in catch per unit effort? What are the statuses of our stocks? Where are the spatial hotspots of fishing pressure and fish abundance? What are the fish doing within these hotspots? How resilient are these species to climate change? And that is a massive increasing threat, particularly in our situation in South Africa. We saw, you've already seen with the talks, we've got a beautiful dynamic coastline, different biogeographic regions, temperature regions, lots of thermal variability, can drop from 20 degrees to 10 degrees in a given day, and then also faced with marine heat waves. So we really need to account for this increased ocean variability. And another thing, how effective is our is catch and release as a possible management tool? We've seen it work quite well across the globe, and it's not really considered here as much at all. And then obviously, and most importantly, the perceptions and attitudes of the anglers, because you can't go push down regulations, suggest regulations if you don't have buy-in from the anglers themselves. Okay, so how do we effectively address these knowledge gaps in a data-deficient fishery with no monitoring? Very good question. We rely on recreational angling, or anglers rather, and Warren infiltrated this recreational body, Rock and Surf Pro League. It's been around for a decade, but it's only an effective monitoring tool because of the collaboration and the co-development of this database from the get-go. So what do I mean by that? All the species that are captured were developed into a database by Matt Parkinson. was a foreign student at the time, and everything is recorded, which is absolutely incredible. And the catches are also, start time is all the same, end time's all the same. The format of the fishery is that once you catch a species, you move on to the next. This is really nice because then your CPU estimates are actually conservative as well. And yeah, this is the different franchises, so a whole bunch of franchises, and every time we have competitions, the public awarenesses, our honour students go to the national leagues every single year. It really is incredible collaboration. So we've been sitting with this data for quite some time. Oops, go back. And I said to Warren, it was one night, like, we really need to analyse this data. And he's like, yes, I know, we really need to analyse this data. And there was an NRF call, Marine and Coastal Research call. It was like during 3 days. And I was like, let's do it. And he's like, we're not going to be able to pull this off. And I said, let's do it. And we literally didn't sleep for like 2 nights. But it was well worth it because all the student talks also are part of this like greater program, which is really cool. So if we go back to the knowledge gaps, the first thing was, what are our priority species? How do we know which ones to focus on? Let's look about the most abundant. So analyzing the CPE data, we had a student, Monty, looked at the catch rates, and these are the most abundant, the top 10 abundant species. Some are endangered, some least concerned, some near threatened, some critically endangered. Okay. What are the stock sizes and trends? It was so fantastic to get Natana on board and Colin Atwood, where we can actually add legitimacy to this data and really look at the potential for stock assessments. And you have someone like Colin buying into this data, you know it's good. So Natana's been doing an amazing job. Warren presented a talk for her, so that together they showed the relevance of this data in terms of stock assessment. And we can see this increasing trend, which is amazing. But if we go back to the life history, I don't know if some of you were there, the reason, well, one of the factors, there's always several factors and lots of uncertainty, is that the age of maturity is way below the size that this fish recruits into the fishery. So there is this buffer. Whether that is the sole contributing factor, we're not sure, but we really do need to look into that. DFF has also done another report in the Wild Coast where there's no RASPL competitions, and it's showing declining trends. So we need to really unpack that. Another thing was to look at hotspots. Where are these spatial hotspots? So this is the effort. This is just the locations of the competitions. So we took the data, and Matt did a phenomenal job. And basically, we just wanted to do the top 10 and just decided to do all species. I can't even remember how many, the total number of species there are, but it's amazing to see. You can see the area over there is where we are. This is why we hosted this conference, so you guys can catch fish. Some of you aren't doing such a great job, Cape Moonies. And then you start realizing, oh, is this data biased to our area? No, when you start looking at the different species, you can see there are hotspots in different various areas. And this is our national fish, Galyun, for example. So that is really helpful. But far and away, if you look at those 2 plants, our area is really a hotspot of relative abundance. Also, in terms of management, you need to look at how connected these populations are with the advancements in molecular genetics. We can also start looking at effective population size. So we're doing a lot of genome work with Romina Henriks, and she's got 4 students working on these different species. And the RASPL anglers collected the genetic samples, which is just amazing. Again, awesome collaboration. And in the Eastern Cape, it was solely thanks to Bruce Mann. Literally, every time we saw him, we had another tub of genetics, which is phenomenal. So we're currently working on that. What do these fish do within these hotspots? So it's great to have hotspots, but when you're looking at in our area where there's like low compliance, not much enforcement at all, so the general traditional bag and size limits aren't really that effective just based on that alone. So we do need to start thinking out the box. Okay, what are other management measures such as spatial protection that we know has worked really, really well in our area, but obviously that comes at a socio-economic cost. So maybe catch and release zones is something really to think about, particularly in our unemployment rate. We can start thinking about ways to look at tourism, etc. Anyway, I digress. Going back to acoustic telemetry, this really gives us an indication of coastal connectivity, inshore, offshore, high levels of residency, the importance of specific habitats within these hotspots. A rocky reef, sand, that's also a beautiful advantage of our Divine coastline. So ATAP, Taryn manages it, who opened up today. She manages this incredible array, the acoustic tracking array platform from SIAP. So this is a fantastic starting point. But then again, we've got the issues. I think the sector has just been largely ignored because it's just so inshore. Basically, it's very difficult to monitor except for rod and line. They're basically casting distance. So we wanted to see how we could actually set up an inshore coastal array. We did it with Ocean Tracking Network in Angola. And so we took that whole concept, which worked really well. And together with ATAP, we set up, we call it the care zone array, the catch and release array, and we put in curtains of, initially it was just 8 receivers and then 16 receivers in our area. And these are the target species that we focused on. And then also we wanted to look at the efficacy of marine protected areas. So we also set up this little care zone array in the Addo marine protected area to see together with sandparks. And so we've tagged those species. The first one was the eagle ray, which was Ed when he was still here. And we saw, wow, this inshore ray is so effective. It's amazing. It's got, I mean, these were just with 8 receivers. And so we extended it to 16. But then when we're looking at the others, and I don't want to do a spoiler alert, we had far few detections with your lassie cob, spotted gully, bronze bream. But having said that, the data is still powerful, so please go to Regan's talk to see, and you could still identify areas and important hotspots. So just shows you can't just, it's not one size fits all, but still giving great data. How resilient are the fish to climate? I've got to rush through here to the impacts of climate change. So within these hotspots, are these fish going to change their distribution? Are they going to have a range shift? Are they going to have a range restriction? What's going on? What do we need to do that? Northland and Sam are doing species distribution modeling. For the most part, in the core area of relative abundance, they seem unchanged and ineffective. But when we couple it, if you saw Sam's talk, with physiology, we're seeing that the suboptimal pressures, temperature, the frequency of occurrence of those days, those very, very cold days and very, very warm days, are increasing rapidly. So although blacktail, for example, we're seeing an increasing trend, actually we must not ignore the threat of climate change, which places these fish highly vulnerable to, just highly vulnerable. And so we basically, I skipped that. These are all physiological studies that we've done that we wanted to couple it with the species distribution model to do mechanistic modeling. This is just temperature data from ATAB. You can see the variability over the years in our coastline. And here we've done population level assessments, individual variability, because we will see some fish will be winners in these changing environments and some will be losers. And we really need to account for that variability. And this was just a thermal tolerance looking at breakpoints in ventilation rates as a proxy for metabolic rate. So we're slowly getting a database of thresholds for these fish. Okay, so if blacktail and many others are highly resilient to the impacts of climate change, where to from here? Kolani, our student, got a mention in the keynote talk. I was like, well done, X-Man, that was incredible. And his talk really also, together with previous work from Duncan, Non-Claire's work as well, showing how important MPAs are for harnessing resilient fish populations. What he showed is that the fisheries and exploitation is removing the fit bold individuals. We had a PhD student linking bold, and she did a whole series of behavioral essays, and she did the same, took that same individual, looked at the physiology, and linked that. I think Warren's going to be talking about that, so I'm not going to do too much of a spoiler alert, but really just showing how it is that MPAs are really so resilient, or harnessing resilience. So this is a way to go, but like I said, they come at a socio-economic cost. So we need to really think about the way forward with regards to this. And catch and release zones are a potential avenue. But again, that relies on the health and survival of fishes. So if you saw Mark's talk, this is the ramp assessment for blacktail. We've done it previously with bronze bream, with Ed, and with dusty cob, and they all show the importance of limiting air exposure. So we really need to think about best practice guidelines if we are to think about moving forward with catch and release zones. Lastly, and most importantly probably, there's the human dimension aspect. So we had a student interviewing anglers and looking at what their perceptions was for spatial-based management. They were all highly positive. Yes, it's great, it works, it's amazing. Okay, what about if we close the area where you're fishing right here? No. That's not great, not in my backyard, right? So, but interesting, we still had some positive points. So it was actually balanced. So we really need to look into that and unpack that a bit more to see what's going on. Thanks, Steph's for allowing me to go over time here. So, summary, okay. So the intricate balance between sustainability and human well-being relies on this kind of multidisciplinary approach. So we started off with 10 packages. Warren narrowed it down to 7 work packages, thankfully, but just shows you how important it is. the competitive recreational fishery data sets really have potential. So if you have them, get involved now to legitimize them and to make sure that they have some validity. Where governance is poor, ecosystem-based marine spatial planning like catch and release zones also have merit and have promise. Non-consumptive, that's what I said, catch and release zones are important not only for socio-economic but also they've got biological potential, obviously for healthy fish stocks, and then obviously stakeholder engagement and communication is absolutely key. So at the end of the day, make sure you partner up with the recreational fishers, because you don't want to have them as just subjects of the regulations, but rather doing it together and making those regulations so that they have buy-in. Thank you for listening. I think I'm 15 minutes. For maybe one question. Sorry. Most importantly, I just want to say one thing. My funders, all the freaking students who are so amazing that made this possible. It's just incredible. And collaborators as well. Would never have been possible without all those people. Sorry, yes.
Cool talk. We deal with tournament data all the time. And the challenge we run into is that participation is often a conflict with making it like a science-based tournament. For instance, if a fishery is getting worse, they'll change the rules to make the tournament less or longer. Like, how do you guys get around like this balance between like getting people involved versus getting the data you want?
Prizes. Sponsors. No, like often, so there's been a lot of case studies that we've also been involved in where it would be like catch and kill, now it's catch and release. So often so in this case, the Raspel, we also made a conservation award. So everyone, all of a sudden, people, especially boys, love competition. So, if it makes it a competition of, participation, you can get a conservation award, or you've got amazing, not stellar reel, whatever it may be, then that's an avenue that we've seen has worked actually really effectively. And so, and say we'll sponsor this competition, and get them recognition if good prizes, sponsorship, and just on the inner I suppose, drive to win.